How do you start to be a filmmaker? You just start. There's no process, you just start. And it takes a long time to learn, but really the only way to get there is just start. It's like anything else. You want to learn how to play basketball, you pick up the ball. You want to be a filmmaker, you just pick up whatever camera you have, probably your phone, and just start. Overthinking the process will kill any career in the creative space. You just have to do, not think. Kyle asks, what are your motivations to get up in the morning? I don't know, I'm always in a crazy rush to get my day started. Laying in bed is stagnation. It's like, I'm not doing anything. So there's always a real urgency for me to get up, get out, and start the day. What's your best advice for young relationships? The only thing in life that stands between you and everything you've ever wanted to do is doing it. Have you ever collaborated with Candace on any work? No, I'd like to. I just find that like work plus relationships is never a good idea. So I try to be supportive, but actually like collaborating with her I think might be dangerous. Rufus asks, when did you stop smoking? You know, I was never a huge smoker. I smoked for like a couple years when I was like 20 to 23. Running through an airport as fast as I could to catch my plane and like having trouble breathing, and that's when I was like, smoking is for idiots, I'm done, and I quit then and there, and I've never smoked again. Smoking's bad. Gabby asks, how do I realize what I want to do with my life? I literally have no idea, and I'm 19. Figuring out like your purpose or your passion or your mission in life is really, really hard to do. I've always said like, you should either be realizing your dreams or figuring out what they are. Figuring out what they are is really hard. The best advice I could give to how to figure it out is to keep very, very busy. And for some people that means going to college. For some people that means getting a job. For other people, it can manifest itself in a million different ways. But sitting around trying to figure it out will never yield results. Early run today, I'm trying something new. I tweeted out for people to ask me questions about running, and I'm gonna answer those running questions throughout my run. This might be a really bad idea because I actually wanted to get a good run in this morning, but... All right, standing in the middle of the West Side Highway. First question, what keeps you from quitting? For me, I just love it. Why would you ever quit something you really love? Okay, back to the run. Okay, on Canal Street now. Next question. How did I get into running? I used to run a little bit in middle school on cross country, but I didn't really get into it until I broke my leg in 27 places and the doctor said I'd never run again. The best way to really challenge me or most people is to tell them they can't do something. And that's how I got running. Okay. Okay, next question. Casey, how do you wake up so early to run? Unless I've only slept like 2 hours, it always feels better to sacrifice like an hour of sleep for an hour of running. I have more energy throughout the day. And like learning that over time really makes it easy to jump out of bed knowing what is ahead of me, which is an awesome run. Gonzalez, what do you think about the comfort zone? I think it's the worst place you could ever be. When you're hungry, you want more. When you're wildly successful, you can embrace your hard work and be proud of it. When you're in the comfort zone, it's just blah. Alex asks, other than hard work, what advice would you give to better yourself both in life and in your career field? Focus. Focus is super underrated. Like, if you commit all that you are and all of your energy to one thing, you'll... Okay, this diagram, I took this from a book called, I don't know what it's called, but it goes like this. All right, you can do 10 things to like the first degree, like this right here, and that's how well you'll do all 10 things. Or you can do one thing to the 10th degree right there, and look how much better you do that. So when it comes to focus, to put all of your energy into one thing is to do that one thing really well, to the best of your abilities, to take it all the way. And to scatter yourself means you're never actually accomplishing anything. You're just sort of chipping away at a bunch of nothingness. And this is true for work, this is true for like dating versus committing yourself to one person, friendship, everything. Like really focusing and investing yourself into something you're passionate about will always yield better results than scattering yourself around, than spreading yourself thin. If you could do it all again, would you change anything? Fun question. I'm not really into hypotheticals. I'm very rooted in reality and where I am right now. And to look back and say I would have done this differently would mean that I might not be in the position I'm in right now. And I'm really happy with the progress I've made in life. So I'm much more about looking forward and thinking, what can I do now to affect my future, than I am looking at my past saying, I wish I'd done this. How do you overcome the fear of doing what you like? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, but taking chances in your career or taking chances in life is always scary. And typically if it's something you really like, something you're passionate about, it requires taking a chance to pursue that. What I always ask myself, the question I always push up against is, what is the alternative? Like if I don't do what I love, if I don't pursue this thing that I want to pursue, what is the alternative? I do something that I don't like because I'm supposed to. Fear is real. Fear is something you will always have to confront. But what's on the other side of fear is always something that's worth it. Amanda asks, do you have any advice for high school? Now I only went to a little bit of high school, but I do have some advice, and that's this. When you're in high school, it feels like that is the entire world, like that is your whole universe. And when you grow up and you get old like me, you realize it's not. Like high school is just a little blip in this huge thing that you call life. Even in this huge thing that you call education, high school is only this tiny little piece of that. So hang in there, work really hard, and know that high school is just, it's a moment in your life. Ben Porter, who was the most inspirational member of your family to me? My Nana. She died a couple years ago, but my grandmother was my hero. I made a movie about her, I'll link it here. But she was a tap dancer. She entertained the troops during World War II. She found her passion in life to dance, and she did it literally until the day before she died when she was 92. She is just like, to me, she embodies everything that I've ever sought after in life, which is finding what makes you happy and literally doing it every single day. First question is from Garrett. What will you do when YouTube dies? I'll improvise. It was like when silent films died, there were talkies. When talkies died, there was television. Television turned into cable. Cable turned into like Netflix. The distribution medium, the genres will always shift. And creators, the people who are making the content, will always shift with it. Somewhat ironically, my HBO show was literally exactly like this vlog. And it failed miserably on television, but does really well on YouTube. Julia asks, why did you start movie making? Well, Julia, I started making movies when I was literally living in a trailer park. I was 19 years old, 18 years old, 19 years old, something like that. I had some free time, so I'd spend all of my days at home watching my baby son. When I first edited video on like a crappy old iMac computer, I was just so excited that all of my ideas in my head, I could actually turn into something, and that something was a little video. And honestly, like that seed of an idea, that really primitive early motivation, is the exact reason why I create movies now. All right, one piece of advice for young people that want to get into the YouTube game.
Man, this is a tough one. I always push originality. Be original. There's no reason to be the next guy. He's already doing it. Be you. Like, that's the best advice I can think of.
Rodrigo asks, what do you like the most and what do you hate the most about traveling? What I hate the most is the indignity that is airport security, forcing people to take off their clothes and their shoes and stand there like this and be patted down. That's the worst part. The best part of travel is the unknown. As ubiquitous and accessible as information is in this day and age, to actually experience something truly new, and travel affords that in a way that nothing else does. This question dovetails nicely into my last answer. Why does traveling feel so good? It feels so good because of that like surprise and delight. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, so it's a surprise, and then it's almost always amazing, so you're delighted with that experience. And those two sensations are just like, are magic. What tips can you give someone who wants to travel more? Traveling by land is extremely underrated. Trains, driving, motorcycles, bicycles, really incredible. Travel doesn't always mean getting on an airplane and flying to another continent. How does flying not scare you? There's so many good things to be scared of in this world, but air travel? How often do you get told to stop skateboarding in the airport? I don't know, maybe like half the time. And the thing about skateboarding or breaking any rules in the airport is the minute you're told not to, you just stop. And you say, I'm sorry, you pick up the skateboard and you go on your way. Never pick a fight in the airport. There's just too much tension in there already. Jeeves asks, how do you define work? Where does the concept of work begin and end for you? How I personally feel about work is when I discovered something I loved doing, I decided then and there to do that for the rest of my life and figure out how to make a living at that and figure out how to survive off of that. And for me, that's making movies, making videos, sharing ideas. And that's what Beam is, and that's what these videos are. Last question, because the sun's setting. Early mornings or late nights? Without question, early mornings. I love waking up in the morning. I hate sleep. And I usually get up at like 5 every day, which means by the time it's late night, I'm miserable. So I am 100% a morning person. Today, I want to talk about haters. And I do want to apologize right from the start. I tend to get pretty passionate about this kind of thing, so I am sorry for the bad language. The biggest question that I see is, how do you not let haters get to you? And the truth is, like, haters get to me, they bother me. No one's immune to that, like nobody likes to be put down. But there are a couple of things that I remember. First and foremost, haters are losers. Haters are unquestionably losers. They bring people down in hopes of elevating themselves, but that's not how the world works. If you're bringing someone else down, you're going right there with them. That is fact. Look, human beings, we come in all different shapes and sizes. We're all beautiful in our own way. Never pick on someone because of the way they look. You can't help the way you look. You've got to judge people by their substance, not by their superficiality. It is truth that better looking people have it easier in this world. So if you want to pick on someone, pick on really attractive people, because they don't have to work as hard as you or me. They just show up and smile. I'm sorry, if you're really beautiful and watching this, I don't mean to pick on you. A great question that I really liked is, how have haters contributed to my success? You know, I think every time somebody puts you down, it makes you want to push harder to go back up. I can remember dropping out of high school to get a job to support my baby and get us off of welfare. And like my friends' parents didn't want their friends to hang out with me anymore because I was like a bona fide loser and bad influence. So certainly, the harder I work and the more success I find in life, the easier it is for me to come to terms with that. This is one of my favorites. Chelsea Peretti tweeted this. Haters are gonna hate, creators are gonna create. And that's probably one of the biggest frustrations of being a creator on YouTube, is that like, we're the ones doing the work. You're just some typing in the comments. Like, while you're sitting there late at night in your underwear, spreading hate across YouTube, we're up working. We're working really hard to make things, to put out there, to share ideas and share our perspective. Hating's really easy, creating is really hard. All right, I want to pull all of this together with one of my all-time favorite quotes. This is by the guy that wrote the book or the movie Fight Club. Happiness is the best revenge. Nothing drives people crazier than seeing someone have a good fucking life. And you know what? That's the truth. Jealousy and envy, that's behind most haters. They want what you have, they can't have it, so they hate on you. The more good you have, the more they hate on you, the more they push you down. Some thoughts in general. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Assume that they're being good. Assume that they're being positive. It makes you vulnerable, and every once in a while you will be proven wrong and you'll feel like a jerk because somebody who you thought was good turned out to be an But the truth is, the alternative is to be a negative, skeptical, cynical person. And there's enough cynicism in this world. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I always assume the best. And sometimes I'm wrong, and that makes me feel like a jerk. But I deal with it because it's a very small price to pay. So I want to end this by saying something I've said before, which is ignore the haters. Ignore them because they don't matter. They're small, weak, feeble people who are unhappy. They're deeply unhappy. They're hurt. Deep down, they're hurt. And hurt people hurt people. When you're hurt, you spread the hurt. And that's what they're doing. The next time you're being bullied, the next time you're the recipient of a hater's negativity, know this. Their punishment is their life. Something my brother used to say. Know that while they might be picking on you with a smile on their face, writing that comment with a snarky look on their face, when they lay in bed at night, they're not happy. They don't feel good about themselves. They're weak, scared little people terrified about what tomorrow might bring. Okay, this concludes this week's talk about haters. I hope that wasn't too negative for you. I just thought I would speak a little truth today. And I should say that there was like no specific event that made me think that maybe I should talk about haters today. Just a general kind of thing. It's something I see really often being in the public eye because I share so much on YouTube. And if I see it, that means some of you probably see it. And it's good to address these things so you know how I feel about this kind of negativity. I'm not going to say who asked me this because I have a harsh answer. Why should I trust myself? How do I know it's not a waste of time and money? If you're asking yourself that, then you shouldn't trust yourself, and it is a waste of time and money. You need an unbridled confidence to succeed as an entrepreneur. Arthur asks, best tip for young entrepreneurs, never give up. And that sounds like a platitude, but I mean that. Because if you try and then fail and then try and then fail and then try and then fail and then try and then and just keep doing that, eventually you will succeed. It takes the gumption to keep going that separates the winners from the losers. It's like that poster where there's a kitten hanging off a tree and it's like, you haven't failed until you've given up. That's true. I'll end this on a personal question. What's the biggest risk you've taken and was it worth it in the end? First, I'll answer the question, yes. And the biggest risk probably for me was moving to New York City. I was 19 or 20 years old. I had no money. I had no work experience. I had no education. I had no friends. I had no contact. I had no resources. I had a 3-month sublet and then I was homeless. My only previous job was as a dishwasher. And I moved to New York City to become a filmmaker. And I did that with a 2-year-old son. It is one of the few times in my life where when I look back, I have no clue what I was thinking. I just blindly did it. It was a purely emotional decision. There was no rational or logical reason to take a chance like that. Looking back, it only inspires me and motivates me more to embrace risk. Had I yielded to logic then, I don't know where I'd be, but I wouldn't be where I am right now, and I'm very, very happy right now. Do you care that people are trying to copy your way of making videos? Yeah, it's frustrating because I work so hard to be original and do my own thing, but at the same time, like, there's nothing you can do about it. People are just gonna copy because they like what you're doing. So, no, I don't like it and I don't encourage it, but there's nothing I can do, so I don't know, I don't let it get to me. I just keep trying to make more, better work. Explain why airport showers are so great. Getting on a plane is disgusting because planes are disgusting. And when you feel like gross, like there's that film all over your body from running around an airport, it's a really gross way to get on a plane. But if you get on a plane showered and clean, you feel like crispy and fresh, and you just fly better. Who's the most famous person you've been on public transportation with? I was on a plane once with Wiz Khalifa. He was super cool. He was definitely stoned. Okay, Ellie asks, what's the appeal of travel? You know, going someplace new, discovering something new, exposing yourself to something outside of your comfort zone. I think all of those things are what make us like humans. For me, like that experience is really an education in, I don't know, what it means to be alive. Have you ever gotten in trouble for filming in an airport? You know, my rule with filming in places that maybe you shouldn't or might make people uncomfortable is just do it. And then if you're asked not to, you politely say, yes, of course, I understand. Then you put the camera away. You just diffuse the situation. Never be argumentative. It's just too stressful.